I found your child on the balcony, so I brought her here.
In the middle of a freezing winter night, the doorbell rang. When I answered it, a police officer was standing there. I didn't understand what was happening. After all, my only daughter was sleeping beside me. The officer had him with a girl about 5 years old, her lips blue and shivering coldly. "She's not my child. I don't know this girl." I tried to explain, but the officer seemed doubtful, saying he would take her to the hospital. The girl's hair was overgrown and completely unkempt. Her dirty clothes had holes in them and they didn't look like they had been washed. She appeared the same age as my daughter but was very thin. Who is this child? Why was she on my balcony? Little did I know that the turmoil this girl would soon bring into our lives. My name is Janice. I'm a 32-year-old office worker. I lived on the first floor of an apartment that my parents bought for us, with my high school classmate husband and our 5-year-old daughter, Susie. My husband was also a company employee and often traveled for work. Being a good person, he would cover for his colleagues even on his days off, so he was often away. One day, while my husband was on a business trip, my daughter and I were home alone when the doorbell rang. In the middle of a freezing winter night, I wondered who it could be, and looking through the doorbell camera, I saw it was a police officer. I was baffled by this unexpected visitor, but when I opened the door, he said,
I found your child on the balcony, so I have brought her here.
I had no idea what he meant. Yes, my daughter is sleeping inside the house.
What?
The officer's eyes went wide, but I was the one who was really shocked. How had that girl gotten onto the balcony while I was asleep? I hadn't heard a thing. The officer had with him a girl about 5 years old, her lips blue and shivering uncontrollably. It had been so cold that it seemed like it might even snow, so it was no wonder. She's not my child. I don't know this girl. The officer seemed skeptical even after what I said, but he stated,
I'm taking her to the hospital now.
The girl looked so cold and pitiful that I brought a warm blanket from the back of the room and wrapped her in it. Her hands were like ice, so young, yet holding back tears and biting her lips without making a sound. Her hair was messy and her collar stained. Hole-ridden clothes showed no signs of having been washed. She looked incredibly thin and pale, as if she was malnourished. Who is this child? Why was she on my balcony? I couldn't help but wonder, and my heart ached thinking about a girl the same age as my daughter in such pain. I couldn't sleep much that night, worried about her. And morning came, that's when I got a call from my husband.
Anything unusual happened while I was on my business trip?
Well, yes, a strange girl was on our balcony. The police took her and they're taking her to the hospital. I was so surprised.
Why didn't you take care of her yourself?
What? But she's a stranger. What could I do?
You're a mother too. You should have taken care of that little girl instead of handing her over to the police. Isn't it sad?
I was baffled by my husband's sudden anger. Why did he know the girl was young? We hadn't even talked about that. I questioned him, but his answer was lacking in clarity.
No, actually, she's the daughter of an acquaintance of mine. Her mother's gone, and I felt sorry for her, so I brought her yesterday. I thought you would take care of her.
What? You weren't on a business trip? You need to explain the situation clearly. My husband apologized, but I couldn't believe that he had left such a small child on the balcony on such a cold day. Even if he had dressed her warmly, she could have easily frozen to death. So, what are you doing and where are you now? My husband said he was in the middle of searching for the girl's mother, but I felt like he was hiding something. Later on, after returning from his business trip, my husband gave some explanation, picked up the girl from the police, and shockingly left her with me. Did you find her mother? What about her father?
No, I haven't found them yet. The father, I don't know.
So, who's the acquaintance you mentioned?
Well, that's just a casual acquaintance. Let's leave it at that. I'm going on another business trip soon.
Wait a minute, what about this girl? My husband ignored my plea to stay and left, leaving the girl behind. I felt something was off about my husband's behavior, so I searched through his belongings and found something in the inner pocket of his suit. Shocked by the content, I quickly called my husband, but I couldn't get through to him. Suddenly, I noticed my daughter Susie and the little girl looking up at me anxiously. What's your name? Ashley? Ashley nervously answered in a small voice, told me she was the same age as my daughter, 5 years old. When I smiled gently at her, she looked at me with surprise, then laughed cheerfully, clutching her rumbling stomach. You must be hungry, right? Yes. I made Hawaiian plate lunches for my daughter and Ashley. They stared at the food in curiosity and then began to devour it. They ate so fast that their faces were covered in sauce. As I reached out to wipe her face with a tissue, Ashley quickly brought both hands to her head, covering it as if protecting herself. The motion gave me an uneasy feeling. It's all right, I'm just going to wipe your mouth, I said gently. With a relieved expression, Ashley turned her face towards me, and after I wiped up the sauce, she began to eat her Hawaiian plate again. After finishing her meal and wearing a completely satisfied expression, it was time to do something about Ashley's dirty body. As I started to undress her for a quick shower, I involuntarily gasped at the sight of her body. What is this? There were countless bruises as if she had been beaten and pinched. Trying not to show my agitation, I led her cheerfully to the bathroom. As I tried to wash her body, Ashley said, "It's okay, I can do it myself," and started to wash her body with cold water. Wait a minute, what are you doing? I accidentally snapped. She looked up at me with a puzzled face and said, Ashley always does it like this. What? Washing your body with water? I asked. She nodded at my question, and as she tried to pour cold water over herself, I hurriedly stopped her and washed her whole body cleanly with soap. Afterwards, I poured warm water over her and she murmured, "It's warm," with a contented look. It turned out that she rarely got to shower at home, and when she did, her mother would tell her to wash with water. The fact that she accepted this as normal without questioning, it made my heart ache. After the bath, I dressed her in my daughter Susie's clothes and neatly arranged her hair. Ashley looked completely transformed. My daughter and Ashley looked just like sisters when they stand together. I looked at my daughter and Ashley, whose faces seemed to remind me of each other, with a warm smile. Ashley was an obedient and gentle child, and I could tell she was longing for affection. She would come by my side as I cooked, tug at the edge of my skirt and laugh. And when it was time to sleep, she would hold my hand and never let it go. Susie also grew fond of Ashley, and the two became close like real sisters. A week went by and I still couldn't get in touch with my husband. Ashley's mother said she knew my husband, but I couldn't keep caring for a little child on just that information. I gave up on contacting my husband, consulted the police, and Ashley had to be sent to a facility. Tears rolled down her big eyes and my heart ached watching her look back at me again and again as the people from the facility took her away. Time continued to pass without any news from my husband until I finally made a decision. 9 years later, I was living with my parents, my daughter Susie, and Ashley in our family home. I had actually adopted Ashley after she was taken to the facility. My parents in our family home treated her like their real grandchild, saying, "She came to us for a reason," and showered her with love. The two girls grew up as sisters and blossomed into beautiful young women. Susie and Ashley's dream of becoming models came true, and lately, they are being featured as beautiful junior models in magazines. Stepping into the glamorous world, the two were thriving and wore vibrant expressions on their faces. One day, the doorbell rang at our family home, and when I opened the door, there stood my ex-husband Philip, looking poor, down and out. A stranger who introduced herself as Joanna was with him. Not wanting to argue in front of the neighbors, I led them inside. Then, sitting on the living room sofa, the two abruptly began to speak.
In truth, Ashley is my child."
Philip, who hadn't contacted me in 9 years, said this without even apologizing. I was so stunned that I let out a big sigh. "She looks just like you. I thought it might be you, so is that woman over there your partner?" In response to my question, Philip nodded and began to tell the story of how he met the woman. Joanna had been working part-time at a bar Philip frequently visited. Even knowing that he was married with children, they got along and she became pregnant with Philip's child, giving birth to Ashley. However, Philip lacked decisiveness and didn't divorce me right away. Joanna grew tired of childcare and abandoned her role as a mother. In desperation, Philip thought of having me raise the child. It was an overly naive story, but what surprised me was not just that.
Please, give Ashley back to us.
My ex-husband suddenly stood up from the sofa and made an outrageous request, almost in tears, along with a deep apology. What? I happened to see a magazine and was surprised. She's grown up so well. Isn't she popular?
So what? It has nothing to do with you two.
But I am Ashley's real mother. You are just a fake after all.
How dare you say such a thing without contacting me all this time?
Then, Philip, who had been on his knees on the floor, grabbed my leg with a pathetic look on his face.
We don't have any money and are in trouble. Ashley's our only hope. Give her back.
How awful. You plan to make her work and live off her? No way.
What? You're using Ashley to make money, aren't you? That's not fair.
Stop making false accusations. I'm saving the children's money on their banking cards. Ashley is my child too. I will never hand her over. Then, Joanna suddenly rises from the sofa, launching at me with an air of recklessness that sends shivers down my spine.
What are you doing to my mom? Stop it.
In the scene bursts Ashley, my daughter. She spreads her arms wide, blocking my path, and glares at Joanna. Ashley, you've grown so beautiful. Remember me? I'm your mom. Let's go home together.
You're not my mother. Get out of this house now.
Ashley broke down in tears, clinging to me. Although Ashley was very young at the time, it seems a faint memory of the terrible treatment she endured remains. Ashley, dear, that's just a misunderstanding on your part. See, you were so young back then. In response to her flimsy excuses, I produced a note and photograph that I had found in Philip's suit back then. The note read, I don't want to raise a child. I can't find Ashley cute. Get rid of her somewhere. If you won't marry me, let's run away together. And the photograph showed a young Ashley covered in bruises. I also had the hospital medical report, of course. Do you still claim to be her parents after seeing this? That's...
You wanted to dump a child you didn't want to raise on me, didn't you? You made this precious child suffer such horrors.
That was all Philip's doing. I didn't know anything about it. I was too young to raise a child. It was inevitable. But anyway, I'll take Ashley back now. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. I have legally adopted Ashley, so I am her parent. Oh, what? That has to be a lie. The mention of the law quickly deflated Joanna's momentum. However, Philip seemed to not have given up yet.
So, if that's the case, I'll break up with Joanna and let's start over. Susie and Ashley are my children. We'll just go back to being husband and wife, so there won't be any problem, will there?
What? What are you saying? You just want things to go your way, like I will let that happen?
Listening to their exchange, I was dumbfounded, then angry. I don't want to have anything to do with these people, not even for a moment. I have more bad news for you, Philip. You and I are no longer married. What? 3 years after you went missing, I filed a lawsuit and was granted a divorce. Hey, what are you doing on your own? Just as Philip was about to grab me, the sound of a police car approached. My parents had called the police after seeing Joanna's aggressive behavior. Well, the police are here now, so please don't come to our house again. No way, please forgive me. I'll give up on Ashley, but at least lend me some money. Philip put on a disgraceful show to the very end. Afterwards, he and Joanna were dragged away by the police. I plan to make sure Philip pays the alimony and child support in full. The two of them, cut off even from friends and family, will likely continue to struggle. Though there's been much turmoil, the little girl who once trembled in fear has grown splendidly. I will live happily with my parents and 2 loving daughters, looking forward to the future they speak of so full of dreams.
Blaming others for one's own sins Such an act should never be tolerated. If there were ever someone who did such a thing, surely divine retribution would follow. My name is Michelle. I'm part of a family of 3 with my husband Spencer and our son who just started kindergarten this year. Both Spencer and I have jobs, so we get help with our son from my parents who live nearby. Kindergarten is different from daycare. They don't look after kids, so we rely on my parents to take care of our son after he gets out. I've always loved my parents, but my father's business, which he ran himself, was a bit of a worry for me. I have a younger brother, Carl, who's 4 years younger than me. When I was in the 3rd grade and Carl was in his final year of kindergarten, there was a bit of a stir when my father's business became known at the kindergarten. The story even spread to my elementary school, and friends who I thought were close suddenly turned cold. My father ran a construction company that did city repairs, and he always said he was doing things for the benefit of others. I thought my father was a respectable man, so I couldn't understand why his work was such a topic, or rather, a problem. Carl sensed the change around him and came crying to me, but I couldn't give him a clear answer and was troubled myself. My father employed and rehabilitated young people who had fallen out of society, so our house, which was also a dormitory for his company's employees, had quite a few rowdy people. Maybe that gave the wrong impression to people outside. I guessed this and tried to clear up the misunderstanding with my friends, but things didn't go well, and I ended up isolated in my class. That's when Spencer, a childhood friend, helped me out. Spencer and I had known each other since before kindergarten because of the relationship between his father and mine. Spencer, who was in the same class, stood up for me and patiently explained to our classmates, "Mr. Corleone is a respectable man, and everyone working for him is good-hearted. Despite how they might look, seriously, people don't know anything." Spencer, who had been to my house and knew the situation well, said this angrily. I trusted Spencer a lot and thought of him as a very important friend. Carl looked up to Spencer like a brother. I wanted to keep my relationship with Spencer close, and indeed, our interaction continued until we graduated from college. Spencer studied business administration in college and got a job at a consulting firm that supports company management. Seeing my father helping young people by giving them jobs, I became interested in doing the same and got a job at a recruitment agency. After graduation, we were busy getting used to our jobs and gaining work experience, and we only talked over the phone or through messages at the change of seasons. But 3 years later, Spencer's consulting firm started supporting my father's company, and Spencer became the person in charge. "Long time, Michelle. Maybe there's some kind of fate, being able to support Mr. Corleone's company." "You've become quite the accomplished consultant, Spencer." Spencer blushed and said he still had a long way to go, but the 3 years we hadn't seen each other felt like nothing, and we were just like old times. Carl, too, blushed and was happy to see Spencer again after a long time. "Good to see you again," he said, smiling shyly. Of course, Spencer had other clients and was busy every day, and I was promoted to head a new division at the recruitment agency, doubling my workload. But we wanted to make up for time we couldn't see each other, and started spending time together whenever we could. "Is this a date?" "We're not really dating, just best friends," I thought to myself calmly. Then one day, at a theme park we'd always wanted to go to, in a spot with a great view of the park's iconic castle, Spencer said, "We've known each other for a long time, Michelle, but I want to be with you forever and ever. Will you consider marrying me?" Surprised by his sudden proposal without even officially dating, I saw Spencer scratching his head. "I can't imagine being with anyone but you in the future, Spencer. Let's keep this up." And so we went from childhood friends to husband and wife. Our fathers, who were friends, knew us well, and when we announced our engagement, they were overjoyed. Carl was thrilled too, saying, "You really becoming my big brother?" Our marriage was blessed by everyone around us. We continued working after getting married, leading fulfilling lives both personally and professionally. It took a while due to our busy schedules, but 3 years after marriage, I received a gift from the Cabbage Patch. My parents, in-laws, and Carl were thrilled, all shouting, "Yay!" together, making me chuckle. I gave birth to our son and became a rookie mom. Spencer, now a rookie dad, and I struggled together with parenting. Even with the support from my parents and in-laws, watching our child grow up every day was nothing but happiness. When my son started kindergarten, my world as a mother expanded. I began interacting with other moms whose kids attended the same kindergarten. These mom friends became a natural part of my life, and interacting with various moms was stimulating and enjoyable. However, in every group, there's always someone who's a bit different. And in my circle of moms, there was one who stood out. She was someone you need extra effort to get along with, the kind of person you label as troublesome. Her name was Natalie, a 22-year-old mother with a son the same age as mine, meaning she had him at 18. I don't distance myself from her for being a young mother, but for other reasons. Natalie, despite being a young mother, seemed to idolize or even claim to be a troubled youth. She dressed flamboyantly, with pink hair and excessive jewelry on her neck, wrists, and fingers. Her language was far from what you'd expect from an adult, more like a high school girl, and not in a good way. Her speech mixed crude expressions with a forced cuteness, which was tiring to listen to. "Hey, you know the cafe near the station? It's awful, expensive, and the service is bad. I gave a waitress there a piece of my mind, and she was shaking. I have the same name as that singer, you know, but I sing way better. The world is so stupid for not making me famous." It was unclear if she was trying to brag about her exploits or show off her abilities, but her conversations were always one-sided and disorganized. I just nodded along, but of course, I didn't take her seriously. She was the last person I wanted to deal with. But our kids got along well, so I had no choice but to interact with her. There was a sports day at the kindergarten on a Sunday in May, but Spencer couldn't attend due to an unavoidable work commitment. "Sorry, I'm really sad I can't be there, but don't be upset, okay? I promise I'll definitely go next year." I reassured Spencer, who was almost in tears, saying it was unfortunate but understandable. "Sure, it's a shame, but it's work. I'm sure he'll understand. We'll go together next year." Spencer looked so disappointed. It was like consoling a child throwing a tantrum. On the day of the sports festival, the weather was perfect. I went there with a video camera and a DSLR with a telephoto lens, determined to record everything for Spencer. The schoolyard was bustling with parents watching their children. Just as the excitement was peaking after the principal's speech, I heard Natalie's unmistakable voice. "Such nice weather, and yet everyone's here. Well, we're here too, I guess." As I was thinking she shouldn't have bothered coming, I noticed a loud man's voice.
"Right. On a day like this, the racetrack would be a better choice. But well, gotta do it for the kids."
A man about Natalie's age, dressed as flamboyant as she was, started talking to me, checking me out. Natalie introduced him as her husband, Cody, but Cody just said,
"Yo,"
and kept eyeing me. These two were clearly a match, both in appearance and attitude. Cody's long, red-dyed hair, low-slung jeans, and the extreme distressing on his jeans made them look almost torn apart. He wore skull rings and a long keychain. Their attitudes and words didn't fit that of adults and parents.
"Nice camera and video equipment. You must be rich, huh? Cool."
He was too familiar for a first meeting and almost touched my camera, so I stepped back. "No, I'm just putting extra effort into recording this for Spencer, who couldn't make it today." "I wish I had gear like that."
"Leave it to me. I'll hit big soon, and I'll buy you anything."
As they got lost in their own world, I took the opportunity to walk away. The next program is my son's dance, so I have to be on standby, so I don't have time to worry about these two. I had to get ready for my son's dance performance, so I didn't have time for them. But as I was focusing on filming, Cody approached, disturbing my concentration.
Man, I've been a handsome guy since middle school. Always had girls crying over me. Being the heartbreaker was tough.
Claiming to have made girls cry, probably because they were annoyed and upset.
I ended up marrying Natalie because we had a kid, but imagine all the world's women missing out on me. What a tragedy.
That sounded more like a deluded comedy.
And you're a pretty attractive woman,
he said, ogling me in a way that sent shivers down my spine. Because of him, my focus on filming was disrupted, and I missed crucial moments. Just when I was getting frustrated, Cody noticed Natalie approaching and quickly left me alone. I wish he had disappeared sooner, but it was too late. The dance was over. Sorry, Spencer. I'll make it up during the next race. I was determined to capture the race perfectly, but again, Cody approached me at the worst moment. Looking up to the heavens in frustration, he continued.
I was known as a lady killer, but also feared by men. Can't count how many guys I've beaten up. They used to call me Lucifer.
Lucifer? What, like a fallen angel?
Let's date in secret, behind Natalie's back.
Are you kidding me? Who would date someone like you? Just go away and stop interfering with my filming. I was at a loss, not knowing how to react or express my anger when Natalie appeared. What are you doing? Hitting on Michelle, you pervert? To my dismay, they started arguing right in front of me. I couldn't focus on filming anymore. Just got caught up in their ridiculous fight. Meanwhile, my son crossed the finish line first, but I couldn't capture his victorious moment on camera. Sorry, Spencer. I was dumbfounded by this unbelievable outcome. That evening, when Spencer came home excited to see our son's performance, I had to break the unfortunate news. As Spencer slumped in disappointment, I detailed the whole incident. He was shocked at such unreasonable behavior and comforted me, saying I did well under the circumstances.
It's best to avoid that weird couple. It's unfortunate for the kids, but we need to keep our distance.
Spencer's words gave me strength. Facing those two alone made me question my sanity. They were that intense. About a half a month later, while out with my family, we unexpectedly ran into Natalie and Cody. Spotting us, Natalie called out, "Hey girls, are you guys out too? Oh, perfect. How about we all have dinner together?" Reluctantly, we agreed to her forceful invitation and went to a nearby family restaurant. Spencer asks in a whisper if these two are the same old weirdo couple. I regretted it so much that I should have simply refused. But when I saw how happy our two children were to have dinner together, I couldn't bring myself to say goodbye. As soon as they entered the family restaurant, the two of them started ordering, but they only ordered the most expensive items on the menu. Since it's a family restaurant, the prices aren't that high, but I mainly order good items. That is, items that are expensive. They devoured their food like starved children, even though their manners were far better. After eating a bit, they started their usual baseless boasting. It began with Spencer mentioning his interest in cars.
Yeah, I love cars too, but back in the day, it was all about motorcycles for me. My gang buddies used to call me Ghost Rider.
Natalie added, "Cody was so cool back then. He fit the cool guy image perfectly."
Yeah, the highways we rode together were awesome. We made chips look like nothing.
Wait, weren't you Lucifer? Now you're Ghost Rider? As I forced a smile, he continued, mistaking my fear for awe.
Yeah, I was wild when I was younger. Even got this tattoo.
He rolled up his sleeve to show a tattoo of a dragon, which was actually quite small. I tried to get a closer look. He quickly pulled his sleeve back down. The rest of the meal was filled with their boasting of supposed heroic deeds, and my husband and I felt forced to listen. When it was time to pay, Natalie said, "Since you invited us and we came on the spot, we don't have any money on us. You'll have to pay today. Thanks." Cody added,
"Thanks for the treat."
and they both quickly left with their child, leaving us stunned. Weren't they the ones who invited us?
"Exactly as you said, Michelle. They're even more intense than I expected,"
Spencer commented.
"And that tattoo must be a sticker. It was peeling and shifting."
I know, right? They're always so exhausting. I can't even find the words to respond. It's like constant machine gun talk. I've even started rehearsing comebacks in my head. Our son enjoyed the meal, but we hardly felt like we ate, and ended up making noodles at home for a late-night snack. We agreed to avoid those two as much as possible, but fate would have us cross paths with them again. One day, we were on our way to my parents' house when we heard a loud crash. Looking up, we saw a car had rear-ended another. We rushed to the scene to check for injuries, ready to provide first aid and call emergency services if needed. To our surprise, it was Natalie and Cody, who had stepped out in front of the offending vehicle. Cody looked dazed, coming out of the driver's seat, and Natalie stumbled out of the passenger side. Fortunately, they didn't seem injured.
"What the hell? Parking your car here? Causing me to hit it?"
Cody started yelling, blaming the parked car. 3 men then emerged from a nearby building.
"What was that noise? It was incredibly loud."
Seeing their car damaged, they were furious.
"Who's the idiot who did this?"
Angry men. Their demeanor was clearly not that of ordinary people, hinting at something more sinister.
"Is this some kind of sabotage against our organization?"
One of the men suggested, glaring at Cody, who was now visibly shaking, and on the verge of tears. Natalie was also trembling with fear. As the men advanced on Cody, he blurted out the unthinkable.
"They did it. We were just passing by."
He tried to pin the blame on us, who were completely uninvolved. The men turned their sharp glares on us.
"It's him. He was driving and crashed into you."
I was about to lose my patience, but Spencer reached his limit first. In an uncharacteristically angry tone, he addressed the men, not Cody.
"Hey, how's it going?"
Cody and Natalie were speechless, and the men responded to Spencer with respect.
"Spencer, long time no see."
They greeted with deep bows.
"Enough of this noise in front of our office."
Another man, evidently the boss, shouted as he came out.
"You idiot. I told you to call me Vice President."
The man noticed us.
"Spencer, Michelle, what are you doing here?"
It turned out he was my brother, Carl. After hearing the situation from the earlier men, Carl, with a face full of anger, confronted Cody.
"What kind of sense is that, blaming others for the crime you committed? And it's Spencer and Michelle, no less."
The two were shaking, unable to comprehend what was happening.
"Besides, Spencer doesn't even have a driver's license. How could he be involved in an accident?"
Indeed, Spencer doesn't have a license yet. He just started attending driving school and is about to get his learner's permit.
"Oh man, this car is worth $15 million. Who knows how much the repairs will cost? You'll be held fully responsible."
Cody, hearing this, started crying, saying he had no money. When Carl pressed about the insurance, Cody and Natalie admitted they didn't have any because they couldn't afford to renew it.
"Help us, please, if you have influence over these people."
Spencer and I had no intention of helping someone who shifts blame onto others, but we did clarify our situation. This office is my family's home. Yes, my family is involved in the mafia. As a child, when our family business became known, I was ostracized and looked down upon, but Spencer, a childhood friend, came to my aid. Spencer, working in a consultancy, had been instrumental in reorganizing my father's organization into a legitimate company. Originally, my father's organization valued the local community, but it underwent reforms to clear misunderstandings and gain societal acceptance. Spencer, who worked tirelessly for this transformation, gained immense trust and respect from the members, or rather employees, and became known as a brotherly figure. Spencer, admired by my brother Carl and the employees since childhood, became a respected figure in the organization after marrying me, the daughter of the boss. Cody quit his job. That's why he has no money. We gave him a job opportunity, but he ran away in just 3 days. Cody was shocked at my revelation. I run a recruitment agency, leading a new project aimed at finding suitable jobs for those who are struggling to find work. Cody had quickly quit the job we arranged for him. Then my father spoke.
With that attitude, you'll never be able to pay for the car damage. Let's find you a proper job.
Cody and Natalie, overwhelmed by my father's authoritative presence, broke down in tears. Later, Cody was employed by our organization, or rather our company, starting at the very bottom. Natalie also ended up working long hours at a related factory. Concerns arose around their child, but my father's daycare took care of him while his parents worked. My father runs the daycare as part of his social contribution efforts. The repair cost for the luxury car was hefty, and it would take years of hard work to cover it. My father intended to use this time to reform Cody's character. With the troublesome couple out of the picture, our lives returned to peace.
Still, I wonder if that guy's character can really be reformed.
Spencer said this while driving. He had recently passed his driving test and obtained his license. If Dad's guidance can't do it, nothing can, but only if he can.
I better focus on driving. Wouldn't want to cause a rear-end collision.
Just then, our son said he was hungry, so we pulled into a drive-thru at a nearby hamburger restaurant. Watching our son happily eat his hamburger, I savored the happiness of our current life.